Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It is time for the difference. It is time for a Sunday with Schlegs. Anthony Schlegel back once again. I don't think the conversation that we thought we would be having this week. Ohio State falls 45-23. And so to borrow a term from my cohort over here, it's time to get bumpy, Schlegs.
Yeah, it was bumpy. I mean, we're a day post. And everybody out there, like, I would just say this. Yesterday was a beautiful day. Started out with lots of promise, man. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better day to go to a football game in the shoe. It was my daughter's birthday. And I took my oldest son as well and his buddy, and we tailgated, and I did the Tunnel of Pride. I've never done the Tunnel of Pride. And it was great to see a bunch of former players, different eras, guys I coached, all there because of what Ohio State means to us and what these players mean to us, right? Because we were once them. Mm-hmm. And the anticipation of them going out and having the privilege to play in this game. And I will just start with after the fact of everything being done and the loss, which was worse than the year before, right. Not just necessarily by the scoreboard, but just how I feel it went. This hurts worse than losing the national championship game. Because everybody goes back like, would you rather beat Michigan and win a national championship game, or would you rather lose to Michigan and win a national championship game? And they go together. Like, the reason that 14 was so special, yes, we lost early to Virginia Tech, but we beat the team up north. And then we absolutely dominated a Wisconsin team. And then we physically beat up on a Alabama team. And though we were down at halftime, like, our guys knew, like, it was just that mentality that they possessed. And we knew for a fact going into the national championship game, we were going to absolutely beat the brakes off of Oregon, and they did. But they went together. And I remember just even watching the national championship game that they lost. Like, I didn't feel the way I feel on a post game, right? Yep. Day later removed than I do right now. And even last night, I mean, I was kind of nauseous driving back to the farm after it. I was just, it was bumpy. And I feel personally, I feel for the guys in the loss. But I will say this, in 2003, we got beat, and I was redshirted that year. And my mentality while watching that game in my apartment was, I can't wait to play in that game because I'm going to knock their dick off. Yeah. I'm going to destroy men in that game. I can't wait to play it. Matter of fact, we can get into it later, but if I was coaching at Ohio State, the picture of dudes on our 50 would be in everybody's locker laminated, and they would not come down until you forcibly take it away from them. Now you have to go do it at their place, which is, it's difficult to win on the road. That was the first win since 2000, 22 years. There's kids that are out there that have been to Ohio State games that have not seen Michigan beat Ohio State in the shoe, and it happened yesterday. And it's also, it's why you feel sickening on a day like today, right? So continue, Austin. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
don't know where I went on that, but I did.
No, I want you to preach. This is a Schleg's sermon show here. That's not the point. No. But I mean, I think that there are a lot of things in there that I think it's a good thing. We talked about, should we just do this on Saturday night? And I think it's a good thing that we didn't, because we can organize some of the thoughts and feelings. Some of them are probably not going to change for you. They're definitely not going to go away for Ryan Day and a lot of these players for a long time, and it shouldn't. To your point, like, I think that's what's the hardest part to believe for me, Schlegs, is that they felt all those things over the last year, and we heard all the talk about competitive stamina and getting scars and going through the experience a year ago and losing that game the way that they did, and having their toughness called out, and from their coach all the way down to the offensive linemen and everything in between. Like, the fact that they weren't able to respond to that 364 days later, and that it was actually worse, is hard for me to wrap my mind around. Like, I know that games are played and people don't have the best days and all that. I get that that's the way sports work, but they put an entire year into this, and it was at home, and the margin of defeat was larger. That part is difficult for me to comprehend.
Well, it was the how. 5 explosive plays. I mean, we could get into the defense and stuff and things that went wrong, but I was actually at the game, and you guys got to remember, like, I don't go to games. That was only the second game I've watched in Ohio Stadium. The first being the Penn State night game when they wore the wolf thing, right? I went to that. I took my kids to that one. I don't remember. That was a great comeback victory. But and then this game, this is the first game that I've watched not coaching or playing inside the shoe. And you're right. Like, Bo Bishop said, the litmus test for our defense and the change all goes into this game. Like, everything we do offensively, everything we do on defense, everything we do on special teams, the test is always versus Michigan. Like, and it really is, to be quite frank, the only one that matters. Because if you don't win it, you don't win the national championship. That's why they were so good back in the day in the Woody and Bo, and why it's so revered is because it always went through this game. Mm-hmm. And now you got the playoff system, and like you can still get a chance when they go to 12 because Ohio State will always be there and always have that chance. But dadgummit, you remember this one in particular. Like I still hang my hat, boom, on the fact that they got less than 80 yards of total rushing in 2 years that I played in that game, and I played linebacker for The Ohio State University. I didn't do it by myself. It was me and our defense.
Yeah.
But that's what we, like, honestly, like, boom, everything that Anthony Schlegel's about is, like, right there as a player. And it's all in this game. Like, I don't care about the other stuff. I don't care about the Notre Dame game in the Fiesta Bowl. I don't care about them. I remember the Texas loss. I remember the Penn State loss, and I remember the Michigan games. Mm-hmm. And like that's what it is. And it's with your teammates. And so in this game in particular, there were a couple things. The big plays absolutely were deflating. And being in the stadium, I'll say this, kudos to the Ohio State fans. They were juiced. They were into the game.
They were.
Into that first half. And I'm going to put this point out there too. As a player, go back to Gladiator. Right? Which, if you're a dude, you like the Bravehearts of the world, the Gladiators of the world, right? And they said, win the crowd, win your freedom. Well, it's up to you as the player to win the crowd. It's up to you to give them something to cheer for. It's up to you to be that dog. Like, I visually remember Bobby Carpenter pointing at people, getting the crowd juice. And then that was, hey, it was not that I need your juice, crowd. It was more of, believe in me that I'm going to go beat this man's ass and get a sack, and then you're going to cheer even more. Oh, and side nugget, Anthony Schlegel, when he gets a tackle for a loss or he blows up 2 dudes for A.J. Hawk to come around on an Alaska Magic and get a sack, I just want you to remember that cheering for me and our defense on that play. So when I roll into Chipotle, you give me a double scoop of chicken and only charge me for 1. Okay? Like, that's it. That's all. But, like, that's the relationship between player and team and crowd, man. Like, you lift them up. And so, anyways, I digress, as the great Tim May would say. So, right. So in that game, I saw we had some opportunities. I love the 4th down call to Cade Stover. I thought that was good. It was a little bit out of his reach. That would have been a game changer. We played with great tempo. I loved it when we brought the tempo in. I think it was our second series. And we were moving right down the field. It might have been our third series. I don't remember. Yeah. And we got down to the red zone. We didn't capitalize, and we kicked a field goal. I mean, it could have been 4. We were moving, man. And then we just stopped, and I don't remember the sequence of plays. I think one of them was like a sweep. And again, why are they trying to hit the perimeter plays? It's to keep 6 men in the box so they can't just crowd it. Okay, that's why they do it. That all definitely has to be evaluated, and we'll go into that later. But that was a turning point to only walk away with that from 3 into 14. The next one is, we'll talk about the big plays. I saw a lot of guys, and this goes back to trust. It goes back to, it's actually first starts with discipline. It was eye discipline. A lot of it, like, I don't know what they were looking at. I don't know how that guy got behind him. Somebody has that cat. A great example was on that 3rd and 1. It was going into the student section, and they ran the little handoff pop pass.
Yeah.
Somebody's responsible for that guy. Now, here's the thing. Your job is that guy. Your job is to, if he comes off and blocks, I block him, or I engage in him to go make a play, but that's my man. And so that then goes, so that's eye discipline and doing your job, along with trusting your guys that's their job to make the stop. Your job is that guy. And so we saw a lot of that when big plays happen, besides the missed tackle, when they brought out the blitz, like you got to make that tackle, right? By any means necessary, make the tackle, get him down, live to play another day. He would have had him short anyways. The guy ran a good route on the sticks, come up, make the tackle, secure the tackle, live to play another day. But the other ones were all an eye discipline, trust factor, I believe. Okay, then the last one I'll say that is indicative of this game and the way it went was 1st and 35. I literally visually remember it. I mean, they did a great job, right? We're down. I think we were down 8. I don't remember. We might
I believe
it
was
4.
Yeah, it was a 4-point game. Yeah.
Okay, 4-point game at that point. You're absolutely correct. Because we did a great job, flip the field, have the ball on the 50. Okay? Holding penalty and personal foul. 2 personal fouls in this game hurt us. That's not toughness, just so we know.
Yeah.
But then we're 1st and 35. I looked at my daughter. I said, game over. Literally said it right there. Because that was the turning point. If we were we had great field position, you score, you keep the momentum, or you get the momentum back, and now you're up 3. Different type ball game. Okay, and I had confidence in our defense that we would be able to make some corrections and adjust. Needless to say, we didn't. But I was like, that to me was the turning point. And then also the one where they scored. We knew at halftime. I didn't really have anybody to talk to around me. I was just talking to my daughter. She's we went out and got something at halftime, and I'm just like thinking, I was like, they have to get McCarthy into the running game because he's their only threat right now. I mean, you look at the scenario for Ohio State, perfect day. Their number 1 running back is out. And there's a couple of big runs that guy got tripped up that he probably would have made earlier in the game. And I was like, man, I'm happy Corum wasn't in there. But that being said, you knew halftime adjustment for them. They're going to continue with the play action pass, but they're going to get the quarterback into the running game. They did a good job, 1st, 2nd down, stopping the run. And matter of fact, I would say for probably 3/4 of the football game, they did a good job stopping the run. I remember at one point looking over there, I'm like, we're going to win this game simply for the fact that they have 30 yards of rushing.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm like, even though the score wasn't where we wanted to be, again, I go back, rushing and turnovers is the indicator of success in this game every single time. And they had like 30 or 40 yards. Okay. Now that's besides the fact that a quarterback went 12 of 24 for 265. Okay. That's absolutely asinine. But I'm still just looking at that rushing attack, right? And then they go and score. Ooh, that was bumpy. Okay. But then the 1st and 10 on the 50 was after that. Yeah. So that's where, in my honest opinion, I thought it was over.
So, Schlegs, I think the part that's getting a lot of conversation after 1st and 35, we know that personal fouls and a headbutt out of bounds is inexcusable. That's letting emotions play with you instead of the other way around. And that was supposed to be an emphasis for Ohio State going into this weekend. But they get it then to 4th and 5. Great job from C.J. Stroud, really to turn it around. It's a 4-point game. They're in plus territory. We've seen aggressive Ryan Day throughout his career, but he decides to punt there. C.J. Stroud, demonstrative, wants to continue to go for it. They've already just gained 30 yards on the previous couple plays. I think you can probably make a case that trying to play field position and punting is fine. And I'm not trying to, look back and make a different decision with hindsight being 2020, but it certainly felt in the moment like it was not the aggressive version of Ryan Day. It was not an aggressive decision to go win the game when we had seen Michigan make similar calls or even more aggressive on their side of the field previously. What did you make of that particular scenario after 1st and 35?
If I'm remembering, that's going into the student section, right? We were going to the student section side. So that was in the fourth quarter. And then we punted, and that was the immediate follow-up was the huge run, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
This one was, I believe it was third quarter is going into the Block O section. And it led to the 7-minute drive that blew the game open.
You know what? I don't fault him.
Okay.
Because again, what is that? You're still in the third quarter, and you have to have trust in your defense.
Okay.
To stop him. I don't. Yeah. I mean, like I see exactly what he's thinking. I trust my guys. I trust the defense. We're gonna get another opportunity. He can't. Hindsight is 20/20 because then you let him march down the field for the 7-play drive.
Right.
I'm not now. If that was in the fourth quarter, that's a different conversation. You're still in the third quarter, and I see what I do remember that now.
Yeah. Okay.
So, well, you know what though? I believe, if I'm mistaken, that then we punted it, right, and then it went into the end zone, right, and it was that. So again, if you execute that and you get them back, because I think the guy hit it, and then we kind of slid into it, or we thought it might have touched the guy. I think that was kicking into the close end. Now that I'm kind of remembering,
that's right.
If we would have got that and got him backed up again, that's even a different scenario then. And I think there was a holding penalty. There might have been a holding penalty on that too, to made it on the 30, right? So it was kind of
so it was a net of 13 yards on the punt.
Exactly. So so I understand other people's points. I also understand where he came from and the situational game of football. I trust my punt team to go knock this down inside the 10. Right. I trust my defense that they're going to be able to stop them, get the ball back, and move it down the field again. So it's either here, that's more of a hindsight 20/20. If it was more in the fourth quarter, I would say absolutely, but it wasn't, and I understand where he was coming from in that situation. Yeah. So, I think other questions for me would be not necessarily that scenario. It would have been, where is Dallin Hayden? Where was Mayan Williams? Tarum, I get it. But Dallin Hayden just rushed for 140-something yards in a half.
Yeah.
Where was that cat? The running game was doing good. Our inside run game was working at 5 yards a clip. Work that, right? Make them bring the box in, and then throw it on the perimeter. I mean, sometimes, again, it was kind of fun to watch it with regular fans because they're just throw it up to Marvin. And I'm like, yeah, do it. Because, the man dropped a ball for the first time I've seen all year, but then he just outruns the guy and catches a 45-yard touchdown pass. So you're thinking, just throw it up to that cat, And I heard that from people, and I was just kind of chuckling to myself, and I actually, wrote it down in my notes. But I don't question that. I would say where were the running backs? And then you go into the other question of our rotation, which you've said a lot. The D-line rotates a ton. The running back room rotates a ton. The wide receivers really don't. There's 4 that really rotate in there. But it's why? Where were they? Was there an issue? I think that's a better question than going for it on 4th and 5, right? But I do see both sides, but I also see Ryan, and then I'm going to trust my guys to go get the job done on the punt, get them backed up. The likelihood of them scoring on a 90-play drive is difficult, but then you add a holding penalty, and now they got it first and 10 on the 30, as opposed to 1st and 10 on the 5.
It feels like I'm trying not to just let it be, confirmation that I've said this all along, confirmation bias. The rotation is too much, but somebody else in the press box pointed out to me right before Michigan's first touchdown. They're like, Javonte Jean-Baptiste and Jerron Cage went out there and they said, Austin's not going to like this. And they didn't directly cause the touchdown. Cameron Brown didn't finish the tackle. The guy gets away, but there was no pass rush. There was no pressure whatsoever. It's one play. I'm not meaning to just pile on that, but overall in this game, there were only 6 pressures total from the Ohio State defensive line. They did not get a sack from the defensive line. And clearly we saw what happened in the running game and the success that they had in the second half. Like, you have, as you've said a number of times, you have to control the line of scrimmage in this matchup, and Ohio State didn't do that, and the defensive line really hasn't done that to the level that I think this program has long expected it to.
Well, I mean, you have, JT, you have Jack, you have Zach, Zach just had a monster game the week before. To your point, like, put the dogs on the field, man. Put the best dudes on the field every single snap. That's kind of what your point is, and I understand that point, and it's a great point to be brought up. I mean, everything needs to be evaluated from top down, and it will be. And again, we're coming off this, like, I know all of these guys personally. I know how hard they all take it and wear this because of what it means as an Ohio State alum, former player, former coach. I totally get it. I love these guys. I believe in these guys. But honestly, everything in the entirety of the Ohio State program needs to be evaluated. I'm talking about the trumpet guy at the stadium. Why are we playing trumpets at the stadium? That's a baseball thing. I don't need to hear a damn trumpet. That needs to be evaluated. The bald hype guy, that guy needs to be evaluated, right? Weight room, offense, defense, everything needs to be, it all has to be audited. It all has to be evaluated. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is beating Michigan. Yep. Because, by beating them, they're the only other team in the Big Ten. You have Michigan playing a Purdue right now in the Big Ten championship game. It's so gross. It's nasty. I mean, 8-4 and 12-0, right? I mean, that is what it is. So it's, as of right now, where we sit, in order to go to the playoffs, in order to win a Big Ten championship, you got to beat Michigan. So everything that we do in the program should be, how do we beat Michigan? How do we beat it? How do we beat it through personnel? How do we beat it through coaching? How do we beat it through training? How do we beat it through in our home stadium, in our fans, like everything, all of it, audited. I mean, I'll go into this because it was comical because I've never really experienced it. One of the most manliest, self-confident, secure things that you have to do in Ohio Stadium is literally go to the trough bathroom where it's just you and another dude, and you both whip out your meat missile, and you're taking a leak, and you could basically have a conversation right here, and just don't look down. But then I'm looking into his eyes as I'm holding my junk and taking a leak, and I've been waiting in line for 40 minutes, trying to get this done, right? And I don't know what's going down. And I didn't even have any cocktails. I didn't even want to drink, all right? So because I don't want to go down there. But that being said, I started thinking about that. And it led me to kind of where I think we are, because the toughness thing and the softness thing, I absolutely detest this because, man, the general pop does not understand what it is required to be a Division I athlete and to train the way that they train and to train as hard as Mick puts them through. I'm just telling you right now, you don't know. And matter of fact, I would say probably 99% of the population that watches this podcast would not want to work out with me because I will straight up take your soul, okay? But that being said, I look at it and I use the urinal thing. Insecure people, that's why I said you got to have secureness in your manhood. Insecure people want everything has to be perfect and they want to be in control. Right? Everything has to be perfect and they want to be in control. As soon as something deviates the plan or something pops up or something doesn't go your way or it's not absolutely perfect, you have a hard time adjusting and persevering and being resilient.
Okay.
To me, right now at Ohio State, we're insecure. I don't know where. I don't want to go back to the toughness thing. And I know part of Mick's toughness and its toughness is in there. It's the ability to perform at an elite level, regardless of the physical, mental, and emotional discomfort. That is toughness. And so is it a physical toughness? I don't think so, because for 3 quarters, they out-physicaled them at the line of scrimmage to stop the run. Yes, we didn't get the pressure that we wanted, but like I'm just looking at that. So then is it emotional and mental that goes into maybe the insecurity and the hesitation, maybe even the fear aspect of failure because of everything that goes with being a Buckeye? Like, I haven't really just hung the hat and said that's what it is, but as I'm just trying to evaluate what is going on, the insecure aspect, and again, it's not by all.
Right.
Because I saw some cats, man, that are spilling it out there. And I'm like, definitely not afraid, definitely not insecure, definitely physical, definitely tough. But guess what, man? That's the beauty of football, is that it's a team thing, man. It's everybody doing your job, everybody having that. You know, everybody being on the same page, because, you know, you're only as good as the sum of your parts. And so I think, you know, as you look on that, it's the top-down approach. And, you know, going back to even Urban's era where you had the 10-80-10, it was the top 10. And I go back to the national championship year, and I was able to see Curtis Grant, who I absolutely love, and I looked at him. I'm behind a rope, and he's on the other side, and the little girl wouldn't let me go over. And it's like, you got to go around, you know, you can't cross. So I just went all the way down and around and hugged him. And just because Curtis, he's grinding, man, as just a dude and doing business and running a trucking business. But, you know, now I kind of lost where I was going with. No, it was Curtis, but it was like, you know, in that time of 2014, in that 10-80-10 principle, you had your top 10, but it's the ownership of the top 10 to go down into the middle 80 and raise the middle 80 into the top 10. And then it's up for that middle 80 as they rise to bring that bottom 80 into the top 80. Right. And now you have a sum of like 70 dudes basically above that 50 mark. And you have about 30 to 40 dudes in that, I'd say 30 in that top 10. And why I said Curtis was a senior. Curtis could have been pissed off that Raekwon was there, 5-star guy. Curtis was a 5-star guy. But Curtis elevated Raekwon, and Raekwon elevated Curtis, and consequently, Curtis had his best games at the end of the season in the Michigan game, in the Big Ten championship, in the Alabama game, and in the national. Like, you see what I'm saying? And it was really that. And I think that 10 that we have right now, it's really 10. And in order to win the game, in order to win the national championship, you got to have 30.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because those are the guys that embody everything that you're about. And so that's really what's going to be evaluated and audited, and how do you do that? You know what I mean? Yep. And but you know, then again, that's the art of coaching, and I trust them to be able to do so. And guess what? You got 364 days to go do that. And right now, in everybody's locker should be a picture of them in your stadium with their flag, cheesing it up.
Yep.
It's facts.
All right. Yeah, they're looking for more difference makers, and the difference, one way to help get that, and they've been very generous in borrowing out Anthony Schlegel for us every Sunday this season to talk about Ohio State. We could do this for about probably 100 more hours, but let's not do that. We'll have a lot more time to break this down in the off season, but no more games left. Ohio State will have to wait until next Sunday to find out their fate. There's an outside chance at a playoff spot. I wouldn't count on that, even though it looks like they don't need a ton of chaos. I personally don't feel like Ohio State deserves it, but we'll find out next. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. Yeah. We can have that conversation another time, but we'll wrap this one up. A bumpy edition. The last one of the regular season, the difference with Anthony Schlegel, a Sunday with Schlegs, 45-23. We didn't expect that one, but we do appreciate Schlegs giving all that insight great stuff about the game and the emotions and everything else beyond it. And we appreciate, as always, you having you spend some time, Schlegs.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the podcast. Austin, I love being able to share this with you and share it with all the subscribers to your channel. You guys, it's what makes Ohio State special. I mean, people are passionate about it. I was excited to go watch the game and be a part of that and see the fandom, see the fanatics, see the why and the connection that everybody has. I have a unique perspective having played and coached there. But then I'm also able to watch my kids and their fandom of Ohio State and watch people, you guys that are listening and why you love Ohio State. And guess what? It's part of it. It's what makes it special. And I appreciate all of you for tuning in and listening to Austin and I go back and forth and have fun with it.
All right. We, again, appreciate everybody who's been along with us. We're going to keep growing it and get ready, hopefully, for another year of The Difference with Anthony Schlegel next year. I'm sure we'll find some other opportunities to talk to him before then. So for Schlegs, I am Austin. This has been The Difference on the podcast. We will see you next time.